Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special edition of Street Fighter Struggles. In today's episode, we're going to do a tutorial on one of my favorite characters, Chun-Li. If you follow this platform, I use E.HONDA on multiple matches, but Chun-Li is one of my special childhood favorites growing up, for reasons I won't disclose on this particular channel for community guidelines purposes. So anyway, regardless with that being said, for today's occasion and for the tutorial today, I'm wearing a very special piece of merchandise. I'm wearing a Chun-Li Ghibli t-shirt. This is one of my favorite t-shirts that I wear on a regular basis to celebrate the nostalgia of Street Fighter. And if you want to know where I get this merchandise from, I get it on www.tpublic.com. Again, that's www.tpublic.com. This isn't a brand deal. I just love the nostalgia of Street Fighter, and I want to share where I get my merchandise from with all of you. So without further ado, we're going to break this tutorial down into a few parts. First, we're going to show how the moves work, how the buttons work, and some combinations in the practice mode. So we are currently on Fightcade. The reason why we're using Fightcade for two reasons. Fightcade has a training module where you can use all the buttons, and there's a legend on the left hand and the right hand side of the screen where we show you how all the buttons work and how the move sequence works. In addition to that, we have a hitbox. If you see here, Chun-Li she's crouching, jumping, kicking, punching. When you do this, the green and the blue box is the overall hitbox or the area of each player. This is where the players punches, kicks, and their moves ends and begins. And if you notice, if I hit a button, there is red. And the red is the distance between how far the player ends and when it can actually hit another character. So what we're going to do first is just go over how the buttons work. So as every character, there's a high, medium, and low punch, and then a high, medium, and low kick. And then there's different variations, whether you're crouching, standing, or jumping. So to begin, we're going to do the light punch, medium punch, and heavy punch. And then, of course, we have the heavy kick, medium kick, and light kick. Again, that's light, medium, heavy punch, light, medium, heavy kick. Now, one thing about Street Fighter Hyper Fighting I really enjoy, as opposed to some of the other titles, is that the laws of physics, even though the characters can do some amazing things, the laws of physics do apply. And this isn't about any normal gender roles or anything like that. I'm not trying to get into that on this particular platform. But Chun-Li is a very athletic character, but she doesn't have the same upper body strength as the rest of the male cast, which is very similar in, real life. Women typically have less upper body strength than men. And I'll show you how that portrays into this particular game. Okay, so we're going to do first the light, medium, and heavy punch, light, medium, and heavy kick. Now we're going to do it jumping. When you jump, there's a light, medium, heavy punch, and then there's a light, medium, and heavy kick. And the same thing when you crouch, light, medium, heavy, light, medium, heavy. Now we're going to incorporate some of these moves, and we're going to show you how this works in a match. So to begin, what we'll do next is go over her special moves. In Street Fighter Hyper Fighting, Chun-Li only has 3 moves. The first move is the iconic lightning kick. All you have to do there is just hit the button as quickly as you can. And you do that, is going to create a flurry of kicks. And man, let me tell you, it can wipe your health. Now, I want to let you know that you have to be very careful in using this move, because even though it's powerful, you are a sitting duck. You can't go move left or right like E.HONDA when he's doing the 1,000-hand slap. So you need to be very careful. Only do it when you're close to the opponent, and be ready to bail, because if someone counters it, you can be severely punished for it. So the next one is the fireball, also known as the Shoryuken. So it's a very simple input, but you have to do it correctly for it to work. You want to start back, and it's a half circle all the way to the forward, and then it's a punch afterwards. So there. And if you notice, going back into the difference between strength and physics in real life and in Street Fighter, Chun-Li has less upper body strength than the male cast. Therefore, her Shoryuken, or her fireball, isn't as powerful and as fast as the sonic boom, the Hadoken, or the tiger shot, as with the other characters of Ken, Ryu, Guile, and Sagat, respectively. Now, even though her fireball is slow, there are some pros to that. When you throw that fireball, even though it travels slow, a character can jump over that. A character can actually jump over that, and it can be very slow, and they can actually jump back into it by mistake. So if I throw the fireball, of course he can get over it. But if I throw the fireball and he goes backwards, he can actually run into the fireball even though it hasn't quite cleared the stage. So I want to reiterate, when Ken, Ryu, Guile, and Sagat throw their respective fireballs, it's a lightning rod and it goes quickly across the stage. Now on the flip side, when Chun-Li throws her fireball, it's slow. Even though it may not travel as fast, you can accidentally run into it, so it actually has some utility there. Now, the next move she has is the iconic spinning bird kick. That's a charge move. Chun-Li has a very special mix of charge and input moves as opposed to just charge only or input only. So let me explain. The spinning bird kick is just down for 2 seconds and up and kick. And there you go. Now, the beauty of this move is that it can inflict more than one hit if you connect it correctly. Also, you can parlay this into a jump. So if you jump and then do the spinning bird kick, it can also get you some distance. So when you approach and you press down and medium kick, you can step on somebody's head, which is a nuisance to stop. So we're going to round 2. When I stomp on someone's head and I parlay that into a spinning turn kick, you need to be ready to defend yourself. Even though the move looks cool, you are vulnerable when you land. So my suggestion is to incorporate all of these moves when you do the stomp, spinning bird kick. So to incorporate all these moves, you want to do the stomp, spinning bird kick. You want to immediately throw a Shoryuken or a fireball in order to defend yourself. So when you land, you have something coming towards that character in order to create space. You may not connect, but it makes your opponent think twice of actually attacking you. So let's go over the moves, okay? We have the lightning kick. That's just high, medium, low kick really fast. It's a devastating move, but don't spam it because you can pay dearly if you just stay in one space and just throwing the move and you don't hit anybody. Chun-Li has very strong lower body strength, but not as strong upper body. If you notice, going into her punches, she can do minimal damage on her punches, but not really wiping the health bar. But it can set up other moves. You can punch and then low kick. So it can be like a jab, stunning your opponent and parlays into other moves. Last but not least are my 2 favorite, or my least favorite to go against, the flip neck breaker kick. If you go against your character and you press forward and heavy kick, you can spin over and it turns your opponent the other direction, which can be very hard to stop. Even though the move doesn't look dynamic, your opponent lands in a different direction and he has to completely flip his button direction as he lands on the wake up. And then last but not least is the flip kick. This flip kick isn't as deadly, but it does put your opponent on their ass quickly. All right, guys, so that's just a brief tutorial on all of the moves. And then, of course, we will finish it off with one more move that I like, is that's Chun-Li's deadly throw. And that throw, if you time it right, can just take up all of your health. So, guys, stay tuned. We're going to go into a live match and show you how that works as well. So we have now switched over to Street Fighter 30th Anniversary on Nintendo Switch. We want to do a brief tutorial on how all of the moves work. We're going to go to the legend of the special moves, the lightning kick, the spinning bird kick, the aerial spinning bird kick, and the fireball, also known as the Shoryuken. Remember, the spinning bird kick, also known as the spinning bird kick in Japanese pronunciation, is a very deadly move, and the aerial spinning bird kick can make you vulnerable if you don't do it correctly. So let's go over all the moves in real time. Okay, so we're going to do the fireball first. Remember, Chun-Li doesn't have the same upper body strength as the male cast, so you don't want to square up with them directly, nor does that fireball is as dynamic as the rest of the male cast as far as the sonic boom, the tiger shot, and of course the legendary and iconic Hadoken from Ken and Ryu. But if you clear it, that's great. But if the character clears it and jumps backwards, they can actually land in the fireball because it doesn't clear the stage. It doesn't clear it quickly. So remember, that can be to your utility. So let's go over some of our moves. Remember, we have the lightning kick, the Shoryuken, the fireball, and then of course we have the aerial spinning bird kick. And remember, when you land, you are vulnerable. So if you execute this move correctly, you want to be sure that you're ready to defend yourself because you might have a fireball coming. So once again, when you land, I like to throw a fireball because otherwise you might be vulnerable to an attack. So you're gonna head stomp, spinning bird kick, and then immediately throw a fireball. Otherwise, you might be in a world of trouble if you're not ready to defend yourself. So that's just a brief tutorial on how to put the moves together. Now we're going to move into a live match and show you how that works. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go into the CPU mode and actually put all of these moves together. And for the occasion, I'm wearing a shirt, the Chun-Li Ghibli t-shirt. If you want to know where I get this merchandise from, I get it on www.tpublic.com. Not a brand deal. I just want to share where I get all of my wonderful Street Fighter merchandise, and I want you to join the nostalgia with me. Okay, so we're going into CPU mode. We're going to play Guile. Guile is a dynamic player, and he has a devastating projectile known as the Sonic Boom. So we're going to show you some techniques and put all of these moves together. Okay, so what you want to do first is be able to hit and get out of there, all right? You cannot square up with any of these guys or you're going to pay dearly. All right, we're going to go in there again, and then we're going to hit and get out of there, okay? So hit and get out of there. All right, and then keep him at bay with those fireballs because that's a good competition. Next is the wall dive. When you go to the wall dive, it throws a timing off. All right, see, he missed right there. And then you want to hit him with the fireball. So let's win this match, okay? Low kick, and then we're going to do a neck breaker kick. All right, we're going to throw one, okay? All right, fireball time. Keep him at bay. Throw another one. He's going to have to block it. He has to answer it. So what you want to do is throw one, and as he dives it and blocks it, you want to hit him with a kick. So what you can do to be deadly is when you throw a fireball, you can immediately jump with a medium kick, and that can make your opponent answer or block, and it can be a bad situation for them. All right, so we're going to wall dive, kick, fireball. All right, going to throw the fireball, and he's going to jump over and then meet him with a kick. All right. There we go. It's a good competition with the fireball, even though it's slow developing. I'm going to throw another one, and then meet him with the low kick as soon as he jumps over it. Then we're going to hit a neck breaker right over it, okay? That's what you want to do is put all the moves together. Fireball, low kick. I don't know how I got dizzy there. CPU was a little weird. Okay, let's win this match, okay? There we go. He's down, neck breaker kick, and then make him answer to it. Low kick right there. So what you want to do is throw the fireball and make him answer and then counter it with an aerial or a low kick normal. So let's go over the buttons one more time, okay? Remember, have medium, high, and heavy punch, medium, high, and heavy kick. So what you want to do is go to the special moves, and remember this, the lightning kick, spinning bird kick, aerial spinning bird kick, and then the Shoryuken, which is known as the fireball. So we're going to do one more match and put some of these together as well. Okay, so who's next on the list? So we're going to go to the USA, and we're going to face Ken, a very dynamic character as well. All right, so we're going to put the spinning bird kick and incorporate some of that, okay? We're going to step on his head and then spinning bird kick. All right, so let's hit him with the lightning kick, get him up off us, and then lightning. All right, there we go. Hit him with the fireball and then spinning bird kick because you have to be ready. See, when you land and you don't answer, it can pay for it. So let's win this match, okay? There we go. And boom, there you go. You want to wipe his health and then hit him with that neck breaker kick because that can be very tough to stop. So ladies and gentlemen, that was just a brief tutorial on how to do Chun-Li's move on Street Fighter Hyper Fighting. And remember, once again, I'm wearing a shirt for the occasion. I'm wearing a Chun-Li Ghibli t-shirt, and I get this from www.tpublic.com. And this is where I get my merchandise, and I want to share the nostalgia with you. So remember, ladies and gentlemen, with Chun-Li, she is a dynamic character, but you don't want to square up with the rest of the male cast. You want to hit, use your athleticism, and get the heck out of there, or else you're going to pay for it. And that lightning kick. Remember, never spam that lightning kick because if you spam that move, you can pay dearly for it. Last but not least, don't be cheap with Chun-Li, all right? You don't want to jump around and play keep away either because that's just bad sportsmanship. And trust me, the more experienced players, if you try to play keep away with Chun-Li, will make you pay dearly for it, and they will embarrass you online and send you packing. So ladies and gentlemen, tell me what you think of that tutorial. If you want to see any additional tutorials with other characters, please drop a comment in the comment section below. Remember, I want you to join our community by hitting that like button and subscribing to our channel. And remember to hit that notification bell. And not only are you joining a community of retro gamer enthusiasts, you'll never miss an episode of Street Fighter Struggles. Until next time.